Cheserek. He is going to have enough room to take the victory. It is Edward Cheserek.
He's trying to close. It will be Edward Cheserek. Will be
1,000 meters to go. It's the freshman, Edward Cheserek. Move over, Pre.
I mean, I'm supposed to train hard and run fast as I can.
Edward Cheserek is a distance running talent from Kenya who was met with the opportunity of a lifetime at a young age. Starting his running endeavors at 14, he saw near immediate success after winning a slew of titles at Kenya Junior Nationals. This eventually led a missionary group near him to enroll him at a prep school in Newark, New Jersey, which in this case was St. Benedict's Prep under the wing of head coach Marty Hannon. Cheserek's formal running career in high school began at his sophomore year, and after posting high placements at meets and a 14:42 5K PR right off the bat, lots of eyes began to shift towards who was looking to be the next potential star of the sport, landing him in the top rankings of mile split rather quickly. He would place second at his regional meet to qualify for Foot Locker Nationals, and the national stage would be a perfect debut for him, placing second there as well to the Midwestern Titan, Lucas Verspikas. With his first high school running season under him, Cheserek had happily found his identity as a ruthless prodigy that enjoyed grinding races from start to finish. His coach saw this as an admirable attitude, but also wanted to ground Cheserek to possess a more diligent style of racing, as during his winter season in the 4x8, he split a fantastic 152, but was going out in nearly 50 seconds for the first lap. Nevertheless, during this time, he managed to clock a 4:12 mile at the Armory and an 8:42 2-mile at New Balance Indoor Nationals. These times led those to believe that Cheserek had a bright outdoor season debut ahead of him, and not only would it be that, it would be one of the best sophomore track seasons in high school history. Cheserek, surprisingly enough, threw himself into the wolves at a top collegiate 5K, almost all of which were seeded 30 seconds or faster than him. Sadly, there is no video, but he contested nearly everyone at the track that day and ran the fastest sophomore 5K ever with a time of 14:02. It wouldn't be a little while until Ches dropped back down to the mile to take part in another stacked event, which was the Adidas Dream Mile. Pretty much every noteworthy high school miler was here, and when they were out in 2:01.97, Ches was due for a massive PR. After Verspikas broke forward to join the prestigious Sub-4 club, Cheserek came in not far behind with a 4:03.29, placing fourth. Overall, Cheserek's first full year of American distance running had fans beyond excited. He quite literally came out of nowhere and started running in general at a later age than most prodigies. So with junior year on the way, it was time to see if Ches's approach to racing had matured a bit. Cheserek looked much more fit going into his second cross-country season, as every race he entered was anything but close, running under 15 minutes every chance he got. He also started getting substantially more press coverage, as you couldn't go a couple days without seeing him mentioned in a mile split article. After running 14:20 at his championship meet, he cruised on by at his regional meet to have a proper shot at taking a national title again. While Verspikas wasn't in the picture anymore, North Central's Futsum Senesalasi went into this race with a completely undefeated season of 16 race wins and a threatening PR as well. The two stars are up at the front in the very beginning, but Buchanan's CJ Albertson pulls away rather aggressively with about a 5-second lead and a 4:48 first mile going up the big hill. Senesalasi and Cheserek don't wait much longer to capitalize on this risky choice, as they pass Albertson shortly after with ease, but reel back the pace on the downhill to regain some composure. Ches then strides out to abruptly change the tempo, but Senesalasi contests him right back to cap off a very eventful first half. Any subtle move from these two boys is met with an adaptation from each other, so it's going to be a game of chess to see who can catch each other off guard. Ches managed to get the lead instead of going stride for stride after tackling one of the smaller hills, but Senesalasi gets a head start before the big hill to pull away. But then Ches explodes alongside because he cannot let Senesalasi get no more than a few meters ahead. With 400 meters to go, someone's going to kick harder than the other. But at that point in time, it was an outright coin flip on what that outcome would be.
making the turn. 150 meters to go. Cheserek, Senesalasi, side by side, up the hill. Cheserek, close. It will be Edward Cheserek will be the national champion. Senesalasi in second. Both of them running in the low 1450s.
Edward Cheserek, as a junior, takes home the Foot Locker National Championship title and an outstanding undefeated season too. The Mile Split article covering the event would attribute Cheserek with the title King Edward, and this would eventually become a staple moving forward, primarily under the pseudonym King Ches or Cheserek. Hot off of his first major title, Ches's second indoor season would be yet another step in the right direction, displaying consistent dominance in the mile with 2 409s and a 402 amid some pros. But most impressively, he became the first high school kid to break 14 minutes indoors, running 13:57 at the Millrose Games. Ches's second outdoor season was a little more low-key compared to his indoor season, as he still ran some solid miles, snagged a 2-mile win at New Balance Nationals, and even took part in a 10K where he ran 29:42. He also took part in championship races in his area as usual to grab some points for his team. So after this, it was on to his final cross-country season as a high schooler, and to maybe see what college he would be committing to as well. Ches's senior year was a bit more reserved quantity-wise for cross-country, as his focus was strictly on nationals this time around, but even then he managed to put up a slight PR to tune up for regionals, which he essentially tempoed for the win there. Despite Cheserek being a national sensation across the distance running landscape, he wasn't exactly bulletproof to losing with a few losses in the mile, and if the race is tactical enough, a sit and kick race may not be a guaranteed victory. Sean McGorty from Chantilly was running high 14s in the 5K like it was his day job, and had a 409 1600 with some wheels to rely on too. Ches stays in the front pack, but isn't leading given how reckless last year's race went out. After a few more minutes, Ches eventually separates a bit on the downhill section and is trailing behind McGorty, and a couple others join in on the party too. The pace is steady, and no back and forths are occurring this time, but at around 12 minutes, Ches takes the lead for the first time all race, which means something's gonna be brewing up in those last 800 meters. It's not long until the race becomes just Cheserek and McGorty holds his lead for mere seconds until Ches flies downhill to use his momentum to show why he's the king and takes the crown yet again for his second national cross-country title.
No one there, McCourty and Langang are regional champions coming home, but the 2012 Foot Locker National Champion will be, for the second time, Edward Cheserek.
Benjamin Sorrell in 4.
Edward Cheserek was now a 2-time national cross-country champion. His adaptation to such a competitive field was unprecedented, and he still had a full indoor and outdoor season to make another footprint in the high school history books. During his winter season, he was registered into a 2-mile with some of the best American runners, and while he was taken out pretty aggressively by the pros and fell back a bit, he still had enough in the tank to secure a sub-8:40 time, and a new indoor high school 2-mile record for the first time in nearly 50 years, running 8:39:15.
Cheserek is chasing 8:40. Look at the clock. Sprinting like mad as he heads down the home straight. He's going to get there, and he does, with nearly a second to spare. And that is a special record he's just broken, Cheserek. Wow.
Jerry Lindgren set that record back in 1964, and that's you have to be a big track fan to remember that name.
That same day, Cheserek finally decided to announce what college he would be enrolling in and where his next 4 years of running would go. That place would be the University of Oregon. Given his interactions with coaches Alberto Salazar and Jerry Schumacher, this decision only seemed inevitable, and fans were happy to see Cheserek enroll at a top distance school. His final high school outdoor season would be a bit quiet, but perhaps he was just trying to play things safe before gearing up for college, as he still managed to run some solid mile times, but unfortunately wasn't able to capture that sub-4 mile American distance running fans were hoping for. Regardless, it was time to fly out to Portland, Oregon for the St. Benedict Star to see how he'll stack up against the best collegiate runners the sport has to offer. For those who aren't too familiar with how collegiate cross-country works, the men instantly move up to 8,000 meters from 5,000, and during championship races, this moves up to 10,000 meters for D1 and D2. Ches wasn't exactly foreign to racing longer distances given his experience in Kenya, and a race he did in April 2012, so this could be a much smoother transition for him than most freshmen would experience. Winning his first 8K race and placing second at the Bill Dellinger Invitational, this showed that Cheserek's racing style had matured sporadically, and his fourth place at the stacked fact, pre-nationals cemented this notion further. Since he ran for Oregon, this meant that his first championship race would be within the Pac-12 conference, and he not only won, but gapped the second-place finisher by 6 seconds. Then at West Regionals, Ches won his first ever cross-country 10K with yet again another sizable gap. A regional win was one thing, however, because it was time to see how the freshman would stack up against the seasoned veterans that have thousands of grass miles under their feet already.
Up in sloppy mud.
So here's what we're looking for as the race is underway in the 10K. Oklahoma State, the defending champ, started on the outside in the box.
Without hesitation, Ches gets right up to the front and is mixed in with the other top dogs on this brutally windy day in Terre Haute. By 10 minutes in, the pack reduces to about 5 or 6 runners, but Kennedy Cthulhu was the strongest runner here by far, with a 22:16 AK PR, a 28:31 10K cross PR, along with destroying everyone at pre-nationals. By 5K, the race already becomes a showdown between Cheserek and Cthulhu, as Cthulhu is going to try and use this absurd fitness to press away from the pack and eventually to try and shake Ches off. Cthulhu eventually does find an opening to press away a couple minutes later, and Ches now faces the quintessential no man's land in second place, with the gap becoming more and more apparent. Coming up on the AK mark, however, Cheserek had already made up about 6 or 7 seconds in just a couple minutes, putting Cthulhu in a pernicious situation. Does he have another tempo to pivot to, or does Cheserek catch up and wait for an opportunity to kick? Neither situation would occur, as Cheserek blows by Cthulhu to force a situation where Cthulhu's cadence needs to change now if he wants to stay with him. Soon after, most camera angles at this point don't even paint Cthulhu in the same frame as Cheserek, and with the crowd noises blaring louder and louder, they get to witness the Oregon freshman win his first NCAA title with a massive statement to surround it.
It was supposed to be the Kennedy Cthulhu show, a man who hadn't lost a race at the Division I level. He led the whole way, but with 2,000 meters to go, it's the freshman, Edward Cheserek, move over pre. A freshman from Oregon has won the national championship.
Edward Cheserek didn't just win NCAAs for his debut, he annihilated everyone there down to one of the strongest runners in NCAA cross-country history. Winning by 18 seconds was a remarkably large gap that no one could have seen coming, nevertheless from a freshman. But Cheserek had that charm where he'd always show up ready at championship races no matter who was there. This became evident when during his indoor season, he had fantastic showings in the 5K and 3K against senior heavy fields and put himself in the running at indoor nationals. Opting to go for the double, he not only succeeded in taking the double title, but won both races by a sizable margin. Winning 3 NCAA titles in a row, Ches was looking to potentially take 2 more, and while his 5K win at Oregon Relays was respectable, he was likely going to need something much faster. After placing second in the Pac-12 championships in the 1500, Oregon made the choice to have Ches do the classic 5K 10K double. Unfortunately, no video exists for the 10K, but despite Ches only winning 1 single race his whole outdoor season, he put together yet another championship win for title number 4. The 5K footage exists, however, and they were looking to be on NCAA meet record pace, as they went out in 62 and around 4:16 at the mile. This was brand new territory for Cheserek, but he would cling on to 7-time champion Lawi Lalang with no desire to fall back. And for the last 400 meters, it could not have been a more theatrical ending.
Here he goes.
Is it over? No, not yet. Let's watch.
Lalang is challenging. Cheserek and Lalang moving around traffic. Lalang coming up on the outside. And it looks like Lalang is going to do it.
Sensational stuff. Epic race.
Lalang, the ultimate winner, defending his outdoor title, and he is with Joe Montgomery.
Lalang responded to an emphatic move by Cheserek, and he would be the one to take his 8th and final title, but the fact that Ches was able to hang on for as long as he did and break the NCAA meet record alongside Lalang was also quite the feat. It had been a while since people saw Ches brute force his way to a fast time, and it took one of the best runners in collegiate history to get it out of him. Now that Ches had a full year of collegiate running under his legs and an 80% success rate for a national title, now was the true test of whether or not he could hold on to such such promising momentum. Chez's next cross-country season had stayed virtually unchanged from his last one, with one less race this time. He'd open up with Beantown, run pre-nats, and then Pac-12 to cap off October. Instead of placing in the top 5 at these meets, he would win all 3. Cheserek would lose at his regional meet to Maxim Korolev in an upset, and with nationals being the very next race, this was a concerning precedent Cheserek and fans of him would have to consider.
Neat facility and a great place for these runners to race. They have taken their marks, ready for the gun here in Terre Haute. And we're off. Here are the NCAA Division I Cross Country National Championships.
This year's race was absurdly tactical. So tactical, in fact, that the first 3K was out in 9:12 compared to last year's 8:27. A couple runners tried taking the lead, but it's not by much, and it wouldn't be until the 5K mark where Cheserek is in frame for the first time all race, which again was very tactical at 15:30. We're 8K in, and it is still obscenely packed, but a bit more strung out than before. Shortly after, Stanley Cabernet from Arkansas and Cheserek made the first move all race. In classic Cheserek fashion though, he just drops whoever he's racing within seconds, and with plenty of room for a quick celebration, he grabs his second cross-country and 5th overall NCAA title.
Jenkins right on his heel. Now Futsum Zinazalasi. He has moved into second, but here comes King Chez. Edward Cheserek for the second straight year is your NCAA Division I national champion. And Bob, it looks like Jenkins is going to edge him out. An impressive 1-2 finish for Oregon.
That is very exciting. You rarely see that.
What was the biggest problem you had to face with today? Any?
I don't see any problem today actually because it's perfect for me. Last year I was a lot of problems with the mud and it's cold. This way is perfect today for me.
That was Stanford.
Cheserek's ability to use tactical races to his advantage or to create tactical situations on his own was a strategy no one could seem to contest. How do you beat someone with a 13:18 5K PR with someone who can push the tempo as hard in races as long as the 10K? Well, the only people that could beat him on average were pros, as in the Millrose Mile, he placed 8th amongst them, but he still had the speed to help Oregon win the DMR, took second in the indoor 3K, and won the mile for 2 more titles to add to his name for number 6 and 7.
Cheserek, this is now title number 7 for the sophomore from Oregon. He wins the men's mile. Serrano's second, Ray takes third, and a crash for the other places won by Johnny Gregoric. So he gets first and fourth and maybe 6th for Oregon. We'll have to check the final.
With 7 titles already, Cheserek was on pace to dethrone the winningest runner in NCAA history, which was Soliman Yambui from Texas El Paso, who had 15. Hypothetically, Cheserek could take 14 more titles assuming his racing schedule stays the same, but this is wishful thinking given the immense talent that's been able to contest Cheserek on occasion. However, he would remain on pace to do as such after winning the 10K for title number 8 and then the 5K for number 9. He was also on pace to become the first athlete to win 4 back-to-back cross-country titles, something that had never been done before, and with a consistent reign of performances aside from a 2nd place at pre-nats, title number 3 surely had to be on its way for his junior year.
The prestigious team title that so many teams look for. The firing gun has been let off, and we are racing here in Terre Haute with some of the finest student-athlete distance runners the country has to offer.
Contrary to last year's race and even the year before, this was aggressive out of the box, and a little over 3K, it quickly turns into a battle between Chez, Patrick Tiernan, Justin Knight, and Jonah Koech. Then by 5K, it already devolves into a head-to-head battle between Chez and Tiernan, a man looking arguably just as fit as Cheserek with a 22:23 AK PR a few weeks prior. Tiernan continues to lead Cheserek through the AK in Chez's first sub-23 AK in cross-country, but despite this, Chez still just pulls away easily. So easily, in fact, that Tiernan is nowhere to be seen just within minutes, and yet again with no one in sight, Cheserek takes his 3rd NCAA cross-country title in a row with nothing but grace.
All by himself. Patrick Tiernan probably 300, 400 yards behind him. Edward Cheserek waving to the crowd. He won it as a freshman, as a sophomore, and he's about to make history. 3 for 3. You hold those fingers up, young man. Edward Cheserek is a national champion for the 3rd time here in cross country. He will capture the title for the Oregon Ducks. Here comes Patrick.
Does it never get old winning these titles?
You know, when I have still moving, I got to do it when I'm still running. You know, you never know in the future. You know, yeah, you keep still running. You just keep running all the time.
Cheserek has had some dominant wins in his career thus far, but a 26-second win was a degree of fitness college running fans could not comprehend. Tactical or abrasive, King Ches had it all, and transitioning into indoor, he managed to put on an absolute clinic during both of these track seasons, whether it was collegiate competition or even professional to some degree. How well did he do exactly? Well, here's an idea of how it went.
Cheserek makes a move with 400 to go. Edward Cheserek, he is the king. The champion, 13:47. Will he run the DMR? Cheserek makes a move, 100 to go. Can York respond? York, he's gone. Edward Cheserek coming on the 5K is your DMR champion, 9:27. Cheserek, he's got some tired legs. He just ran that epic 5K DMR double just 24 hours ago. When is he gonna make that big kick we're waiting for? As Cheserek now goes to the lead with 3 laps to go. Cheserek though, coming up on 200 meters. It is Edward Cheserek, title number 10.
65 seconds on that last lap. Here we go.
And there goes Cheserek.
And everybody in the home stretch is standing and cheering Cheserek.
So Cheserek will win individual title number 12, 14th over.
Cheserek on his tail. McGordy, Knight, Pearson all in the mix. McGordy can't catch him. It's going to be Edward Cheserek, title number 15.
Finally arriving at senior year and 15 titles deep, all Ches needed was one more title to break Nyambui's record, along with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to complete the first ever 4-peat in cross country. Like clockwork, Ches's first place barrage was on full display yet again, running comfortably in the 23s every time, tempoing pre-nats, and won Pac-12s rather easily. Taking the regional title by over 20 seconds, Cheserek was geared up for nationals more than ever, and his versatile wins, whether it be a slow burner or near time trial, already had him primed for whatever moves would be thrown at him.
And they are off here. 2016 Men's National Championship, Division 1, 10,000 meters. We'll know in about 30 minutes what's going to happen.
Since the race was back at Terre Haute and the weather was windy as usual, it came as no surprise that this race went out like the 2014 rendition, where the pack is bunched up as can be through 3K and pretty much the same through 5K. A bit faster, but still a fairly tactical race. About 19 minutes in, the pack does start to thin out, and Cheserek of course stays at the front to make a potential move around 8K. Tiernan, the runner-up last year, and up-and-comer Justin Knight begin to put some pressure on Cheserek with Tiernan leading hard. And as the tempo quickens, Cheserek's stride oddly enough remains stagnant and is in third with only 5 minutes to catch back up. With no significant change in cadence like when he faced Kithuga, he's eventually just no longer in the conversation. And as the Australian Olympian pulls away from Knight, it is Patrick Tiernan that will be the dark horse to snag his first ever title to prevent the elusive 4-peat Cheserek was chasing.
The Australian from Villanova, coming off of an Olympic 5K competition just months ago. It's Patrick Tiernan from Villanova coming through 29-22, winning the title that eluded him a year ago. Justin Knight in second, moving up 2 spots. Now Edward Cheserek not going to win that 4th title. He's in third, about 25 seconds outside of the win.
What happened? You see what happened?
Tell me what happened. What in your mind?
I think you see what happened in the course.
Disappointing right now.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing because, you know, this is my last year and it's a good race. Everybody was tough over there. I mean, you see the way the race was going, it was fast, and, you know, I was wondering, you know, to hang up a little bit, but I didn't have so much left. And I'm happy for there, and I'm, you know, finished my cross country. Not bad. Now I have to focus, go back and fix some thoughts that stay focused on indoor and outdoors.
Despite an overwhelming track record of winning nearly every championship race he entered, Edward Cheserek would have to forego the four-peat and settle for third place that day. Taking the bronze in this field still solidified himself as one of the best that season, but there was something deeply disheartening about yet another athlete missing the clean sweep and waiting potentially decades for another athlete to hopefully fulfill that goal. Even though this was a tragic blip in his career, Cheserek still went into the winter season ambitiously with solid 3K and 5K openers, and opted for a fast mile race instead of a 3K at the BU Last Chance meet. He managed to break Lalang's collegiate record of 3:52.88 by running 3:52.01 on February 26, 2017.
He needs that.
Merber. Swing it out wide, Kyle Merber.
Cheserek, Merber, they're coming. 3:52.02, the new collegiate record. It's in the books, baby. Edward Cheserek. Lowy Lalang, thank you for setting the mark. Chris O'Hare, we talked to you yesterday. The first two to ever go under 3:54. Edward Cheserek has set his first collegiate record.
With blistering times across the board, Cheserek's next race would be indoor nationals to try and capture some titles. With a prime Tiernan absent, he was able to take the 5K title without worrying too much, and just edged out Justin Knight for the 3K for the double. With two hefty races under him, Ches would get a taste of his own medicine in a tactical mile race, where freshman Josh Kerr from New Mexico left Ches in the dust with 200 to go. Even though King Ches was denied his perfect meet, the two titles he took propped him up to 17 NCAA championship wins, making him the winningest male athlete in NCAA history across all sports. The outdoor season left a lot to be desired too. 2 more titles, potentially another collegiate record in the 5 or 10K. The field was open for Ches to explore and triumphantly close his collegiate career out. He won the Stanford Invitational in 28:46 and was eyeing up his 5K PR with a 13:24 in May. After winning Pac-12s in the 10K handily, there was only one meet left to compete at to cap off his phenomenal collegiate career and to end on the highest note he possibly could. Except, there was one problem. There wouldn't be a next meet. In an abrupt turn of events, Cheserek opted out of competing at outdoor nationals due to a lower back strain he had been dealing with since the Peyton Jordan Invitational. This is likely why he didn't run the 5K at Pac-12s, and is now the reason why he won't have the chance to snag 2 more titles for 18 and 19. This tugged at the heartstrings of King Ches fans around the world, but there was a bittersweet twist to it thankfully, as a week and a half later, he would be signed to the agency Total Sports Management, with the likes of Nick Simmons, Shelby Houlihan, Sally Kipigo, and more, but a formal sponsor had yet to be determined. Just about everyone predicted him to join the Nike Oregon Track Club due to his 4-year involvement with the Oregon program and his connections with Salazar and Schumacher. After months of silence, the distance running scene would finally get word of Cheserek's brand new sponsor, the one and only Skechers. Understandably so, a decision like this perplexed the running community with a myriad of questions along with it. Why did Cheserek sign to Skechers? How much money was it? Is Skechers even competitive in the running shoe market? Will my Skechers light up and make me run faster? None of these questions really got a straightforward answer, but it was certainly strange to see that Ches had opted to represent a company that had only one other elite runner signed. Eventually, he made his formal return to running his first road 5K in San Jose, which he won with a decent time. Ches came back hot during the indoor season because he managed to run the second fastest indoor mile ever with a 3:49.44, and then the very next day ran 7:38 in the 3K. Ches's massive success fresh off of a Skechers contract was working out far better than people were expecting, and was essentially at that world-class level people had been waiting to see him at. Sadly, his season was cut extremely short, and he only raced one more time at the Pre-Classic, which he got swallowed in the 2-mile, finishing 15th place. 2019 seemed like a promising comeback with some great indoor performances, but again, a desolate outdoor season where he raced a few times with some solid 5Ks, but was non-existent after July. 2020 was of similar quality, but things would start to get a little wobbly soon. Despite Cheserek's best event on paper being the mile, he gravitated towards the 10K for the Kenya Olympic Trials, where he did fine in the pre-trials, but finished 7th at the actual ones to miss a spot on the team. In the latter half of the year, we would see a brand new performance in the fall, as Cheserek ran his half marathon debut at the Great North Run, running a time of 1:01.31. After running the world standard in the 5K in 2022, he didn't translate this to an appearance at the World Championships, and instead focused on the Valencia half, where he respectively neared the sub-hour mark. Cheserek's professional career up until this point felt a bit underwhelming. It was this awkward limbo or plateau Ches seemed to perpetually be in, and whether it's because of consistent injuries or mental barriers or a different type of coaching style, there's only hope that he can find some clarity and capture a running identity that works for him and brings him the success he had a glimpse of back in 2018. Now, it would be unfair to leave a story like Edward Cheserek's on such a lukewarm note. His legacy in high school and especially collegiate running was an emphatic journey like no other to witness. His ability to close out every possible race in a brutally fast finish made the more tactical side of distance running exhilarating to watch because of how consistent and dominant he made it look. And on the occasion he decided to go all out, he showed to be capable of being quite the speed aficionado. He's the king of the NCAA distance running world, and it'll be extraordinarily difficult for anyone to rival his title count. Not to mention his professional resume that is still very solid on paper, and while it's not currently living up to the mainstream running community's expectations, only many can hope he will return to his throne soon, as Cheserek still has some years left in the tank to make them count. But the only way to find out is to hold out and let the king do his thing. This is the story of Edward Cheserek, and thanks for watching. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, come on over and become a patron. Drop a sub and peep the Instagram too. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.